music. You are now entering a parallel universe.
And wipe your feet on the way in.
Marc Riley, BBC Six Music.
Oh, you know, Paul McCartney had it all at his fingertips and let it go. Where is he now?
Oh, Mark, you know, some people make the right turn, some people go the other way, don't they?
Sliding doors.
Oh.
Paul, come back, we need you.
You know.
I know.
He had a Bond film at one point, didn't he?
Oh,
Bond theme.
So that's Wings and Live and Let Die, and I have seen Paul McCartney playing live a few times. It is life-affirming, I would say, but also he almost nearly killed me as well, because when the boom, the fireworks go off.
Yes,
and I was sat second row from the front of the MEN Arena, which was amazing. But yeah, I wasn't prepared for it.
No, it's really seriously hard, because I saw him at Liverpool Arena and I was like midway back and you could feel it.
Yeah, no, seriously. But anyway, I am Marc Riley. That is Bob Hughes. We are in the parallel universe.
We are. So we're looking at sounds here. 28th of October 1972. In the news, Paul and Linda McCartney have written the title song for the new James Bond movie Live and Let Die, which is currently being shot in New Orleans. Wings recorded the song, which will be used over the film's title credits, and an orchestrated version will be played throughout the movie. The best Bond theme, do you think?
It's definitely up there, isn't it?
I think so.
And I've Goldfinger as well.
Yeah, no, that is quite good, and it's quite good. On the front page here, Robert Fripp takes his new King Crimson on the road for a major British tour next month. The band, which comprises David Cross, Fripp, John Wetton, Bill Bruford and Jamie Muir, open at York University on November the 11th, goes through the dates, and it says Crimson, described by Fripp as a truly magic band, have spent recent weeks rehearsing an entirely new repertoire of material, and unlike the previous Crimson, are a far more funky outfit, according to a spokesman for the band. So this is the band that recorded Lark's Tongue in Aspic, wasn't it? A 5-piece.
That's a mad album, isn't it?
It is.
I love parts of it. Some parts of it just kind of like go over my head a little bit. But then the next one after that would have been Red, wouldn't it?
I think it might have been Starless and Bible Black, wasn't
Right.
it? And then it was Red. But by Red, they'd pruned it down to a trio. And amazingly, you know, they recorded Red, and then that was the end. You know, they had enough by then.
One of my favourite albums, Red. Just incredible.
Also in the news, the new look Groundhogs set for a gigantic 26-day tour of Britain, starting in Birmingham, taking them through to the Rainbow in London. They've just completed their 6th album, Hogwash, going to feature for the first time Tony McPhee's work on Mellotron and Moog, as well as marking the debut of new drummer Clive Brooks, who joined the band from Egg. At their insistence, top prices for venues are going to be 90p, in some instances range as low as 50p. Great time to see him. 72, the Groundhogs.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't start going to gigs till the end of 1973, but that's one band that I did see them at Burnley Mechanics probably about 10, 15 years ago, something like that, just before Tony had his heart attack, actually. Okay. But I really wished I'd caught up with them when I was doing gigs seriously in 1974 or 75.
Yeah,
I didn't.
In their prime. Due to the excessive demand for tickets at Manchester's Free Trade Hall on the 13th of November, which is sold out within 5 hours, ELP have added an extra date to the tour at Manchester Hard Rock the following day, which brings us to this, which is also a bit further down. Manchester's Hard Rock has announced a winter programme which includes big name attractions such as 10 Years After, ELP, Santana, Yes, King Crimson, Free, Hawkwind. Genesis will turn in their only other British appearance after the Wembley Empire Pool. Then it's Roxy Music, Wizard, East of Eden, Incredible String Band, Fleetwood Mac and Velvet Underground. I didn't know the Velvet Underground played at the Hard Rock.
Right, okay. No, I didn't either. But we've said it before, probably. So it's a derelict B&Q now. It
is.
Other queues are available. But I think it was a bowling alley before it was turned into the Hard Rock.
It was.
And I only went once. I saw Egg de Broughton there. But it was a big old unit. So I was talking to Bernie, actually, our mate Bernie Phillips. Hello, Bernie. She went there. She saw Bowie there and Focus. But there was a big, concertina wall that they would pull across and shut half of it down from the venue and turn it into a nightclub kind of thing. A great venue. So I wished I'd been able to go there more as well.
It didn't last long. I mean, this is October 72. I think it had only been open a month or two, hadn't it? Because I think Bowie opened it.
He did.
I believe. Lasted till 1975. Also, I know this is a visual thing, it was a brilliant photo of Bowie and Mick Ronson there on page 3, announcing the fact that Bowie's initial 7-date stateside tour of Cleveland, Memphis, New York, Boston, Chicago, Detroit and LA has been extended by a further 17 bookings in view of the impact he's made. Really kind of got going for it, wasn't it? It didn't quite work out. It was a good few years before he made a serious impact in the States.
Well, I mean, you say that. It's a weird one because I've listened to the Main Man podcast quite recently, one of them. There's loads and loads, I guess. And there was one point where they were playing, it was a complex, and there was probably a hall with maybe 500 people, and then there's a hall with like 10,000 people.
Okay.
And Tony DeFries said, right, you're playing the small one now, but when we come back on this tour, we're going to come back here again and going to be playing the big one. And they did, apparently.
Oh, okay,
and it might have
right.
been Cleveland, because Cleveland's got a real reputation for being a massive music city, hasn't it?
Yeah, especially British bands as well. They really went for it big time.
Well, we're playing Motley Hoople later, but I know Cleveland rocks, you know. So, yeah, I don't know what it was about Cleveland, but they obviously had good taste.
Completely. And also in the news, Ringo Starr and David Essex, who played the lead in Godspell, are to star in a new rock film which went into production at Lee Studios this week. Described as a 50s rock musical, it's called That'll Be the Day, after the Buddy Holly song. A full soundtrack has been put together for the film with a fluctuating lineup of musicians. So far, on side are Billy Fiore, who will front a band called The Outfits, Keith Moon, Everly Brothers, and the producers indicate that Pete Townsend, Eric Clapton, Jack Bruce and Ronnie Wood may be interested. It's going to be shot at Lee Studios and also on location at the Isle of Wight. Screenplay by Ray Connolly of the London Evening Standard. A really kind of landmark rock film. This and Stardust, which is the sequel to this, of course.
And Slade in Flame, you'd have to say, wouldn't you? But, I mean, so Dave Edmunds was heavily involved in it, wasn't he? And the band in it, funnily enough, were called the Stray Cats, as I remember.
They were.
And then Dave Edmunds went to produce the Stray Cats a bit later on, but...
Yeah, art, music, the rest. Also, good film, Harder They Come.
All right, okay, so we're going to play Many Rivers to Cross, or do you want... Well, actually, we'll play The Harder They Come.
Why not?
Yeah, we've got them both here. Let's go for it. Jimmy Cliff, The Harder They Come, Mark Riley, Bob Hughes.
Yes, sounds from 28th of October 1972. Incidentally, Jimmy Cliff has a new album on the way, hasn't he?
Has he?
He has.
Okay.
In the news here, Medicine Head. Peter Hope Evans left Medicine Head 6 months ago, and John Fiddler formed a 3-piece electric band. The album he's just brought out is called Dark Side of the Moon. Now John has disbanded the trio, got back together with Peter. I did interview John Fiddler for one of the magazines probably about a year ago, and he was talking about this album, and he called it Dark Side of the Moon in late 72, and guess what? Nothing happened.
That's a bit difficult, that, isn't it?
Yeah, he was convinced it just failed because of the title.
Well,
which
do you
happens.
know the album?
I don't.
Right,
Sorry,
okay.
I don't. Music People, this was Martin Heyman's gossipy type page. He said, I read with great interest in the latest issue of the French monthly rock and roll magazine Best, an account of a journalist's experiences in Paris trying to track down the famous Basement Tapes bootleg by Bob Dylan, or rather, running into it by accident in the Latin Quarter. To recap briefly, Basement Tapes are recordings by Bob Dylan and the band during Dylan's self-imposed exile after his motorcycle accident. The songs and performances are among his best, which means they must rank amongst the best recorded anywhere. Unfortunately, the quality of the reproduction is appalling, and he lists all the songs. It was sort of seen as this kind of holy grail, wasn't it, for many years, from the late 60s onwards, and people like Julie Driscoll, Fairport Convention, Manfred Mann got hold of the songs and just added to that sort of fabled notion of this recording that was lost.
Yeah, I mean, people like Clapton and George Harrison were like, their careers kind of changed a little bit from what I can gather. It just meant so much to them. They loved it so much. And I love the Basement Tapes. I played it not that long ago on vinyl, and the sound of it is not great. You know, I mean, obviously it was recorded in the Big Pink, you know, so it wasn't sophisticated studio material, but the music, I would say music from the Big Pink by the band sounds a lot more well polished and produced than the Basement Tapes.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't know what the bootleg sounded at the time, but it does sound a bit rough around the edges, which is great. I love that.
Yeah, and also it wasn't really intended for public consumption, wasn't it, at the time? It was only later on. This sounds horrendous. This is Steve Peacock. He went to the theatre. He says, at first sight, it would seem like a good idea to translate extracts from Leonard Cohen's songs, poems and his novel Beautiful Losers into work for the stage. But in reality, I found conversations late night at the Hampstead Theatre Club poorly constructed and a bit tedious and often embarrassing for the actors. On stage, there were 2 men and 2 women all dressed in white, lounging on white furniture and drinking champagne. The conversations are constructed out of Leonard Cohen's words, and every so often one of them would break into song, backed up by a small band in one corner of the stage and the other actors doing harmonies. They'd stare expressionlessly and fixedly ahead, and often they'd sing flat. It was a good idea, an ambitious one, but for me it didn't work.
Sounds bloody awful.
Terrible.
I mean, I have to say, you probably get more enjoyment out watching me and Trace just lounging about on the settee, drinking Prosecco and shouting at at the telly when football's on, but
I'd watch that, certainly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. And I know we're going off piste a little bit. There's also a film review here by Billy Walker of Deliverance. He says, Deliverance has already been damned as merely another straw dogs, resting its case purely on violence and outrage, shocking the senses but offering precious little to feed the mind. But the fact is, director John Boorman is responsible for what comes mighty close to being a truly great film. It is a truly great film.
it is.
And very disturbing.
I would agree.
Other things going on. Christy McVie's joined Fleetwood Mac, talking about the popularity in the States because of rising as their sort of stock in Britain goes down, which is kind of a foreshadow of a few years to come.
Yeah.
And Brian Ferry talking about Roxy Music Stage Act. We don't have time to go into the whole thing, but he does talk about that famous gig where Roxy supported Bowie at the Rainbow. So they were, obviously the support act came on first. And he said, I don't really think it worked, quite honestly. It was all sort of 1964-65 pseudo-avant-garde American happening, 8 years out of date, and rather embarrassing. It didn't enhance the music. Meow.
So, yeah, that was the Astronettes doing all the mime with
yeah.
Lindsay Kemp, wasn't it? The kind of jury was out a little bit, but it was so ambitious and a sign for the future to come. But Bowie, it was just basically scaffolding, wasn't it?
That's all it was. And ladders.
Yeah.
They had ladders and scaffolding on the stage. Brilliant idea. And film projections and all the rest of it. Anyway, I'm going to play this for you because I know you like this.
I do, thank you. From the album Sometime in New York City, that is John Lennon with New York City, Mark Riley in Salford with Bob Hughes and Michelle Chowdhury.
Yeah, looking at sounds, October 28th, 1972. These bands are on the road. Emerson, Lake and Palmer at St George's Hall in Bradford. Kevin Ayres and his band at the Nutters Carnival in Islington Town Hall. Genesis at London Imperial College. Lou Reed at Alhambra Rock in Birmingham. Soft Machine at City Hall in Leeds. Mott the Hoople at London College of Printing. The Pretty Things at Newcastle University, Ravi Shankar at Lancaster University, Dizzy Gillespie, Thelonious Monk and Art Blakey at Hammersmith Odeon. This is an interesting one. Wembley Festival of Music, The Faces, Pink Fairies and New York Dolls. This is late October 72. This is probably about a week before Billy Mercier, isn't it? I think.
Yeah.
He was on this tour.
Yeah, well, didn't he die that night? Didn't he die after that particular show?
I think it was a week. I think it was early November, wasn't it? Whatever the next gig was. Yeah.
So
sadly.
Billy Mercier being the drummer in the New York Dolls who died of an overdose.
Yeah.
And wine. That's
right. Billy Doll. Live review front, you've got Pink Floyd, 50 minutes worth of lighting instruction for engineers and stagehands preceded Pink Floyd's concert at Wembley Stadium on Saturday. Wembley Stadium? What do you mean, Empire Pool?
It must have been the arena, yeah. Surely.
The concert had a near-capacity audience and was, for the most part, a polite, almost reverent affair. Pulse Beats and a chapel reading opened the first half, which was devoted entirely to the Dark Side of the Moon. For almost a year, it's been part of their stock on stage, and next month it's due to be released on an album. They threw everything at this, didn't they? It was all or nothing. It really was. Obviously, they were playing smaller venues and universities and all the rest of it, and suddenly they're trying to make it big, and you could tell it was boom or bust.
Well, it was boom.
Yeah, totally. Also, live reviews, Lou Reed at Edmonton Sundown. Martin Heyman says that he gets a huge reception and that he's acquired a bit more flash, and his band seems altogether more confident than a few months ago, but its set itself takes a while to really catch fire. Interesting, because this is a month where about a month before the release of Transformer, no mention at all of any of the songs that ended up on it. He's playing stuff like Sweet Jane, Berlin and Waiting for the Man, and finishes with Rock and Roll.
I wonder who his band was at the time. Would it be Lou Reed and the Tots? Was it that?
Would it be
band?
that? Do you think so? Yeah,
maybe, yeah.
Very, very possibly. Also, the Kinks at the Rainbow, where Steve Peacock, he said they're on good form with a horn section, giving them the right kind of boost in the right places. Ray Davis, a mixture of vaudeville star, Hollywood caricature, and eccentric Englishman, struck just the right notes. He was doing all sorts of stuff on stage, including heaving cans of beer out to the audience. Nobody does that. That's daft.
Blimey. Okay, well, I think we're done then, Bobby, aren't we?
We are.
Okay, so we're going to leave you with Mott the Hoople and All the Young Dudes, possibly the great song ever, possibly. And we need to say thank you very much. Giddy's next, and we'll see you tomorrow night with Objections live in session. And take care of yourselves.
Marc Riley, BBC 6 Music.
And shut the door on your way out.